Namaskar. Welcome teachers to the NEP PDP program. Today is the batch 7, day 6, and today is the last day of this batch. I am Professor Bhaskar from School of Sciences, IGNOU. With me today the expert is Dr. Niradhar Dey, Associate Professor, School of Education, IGNOU. Just to give a brief introduction about Sir. Sir will be talking today about NEP 2020 and teacher education. Dr. Niradhar Dey did his MA, MPhil and PhD in education from Sambalpur University, Orissa, and he has got first class first in his career. His areas of specialization are research methodology in education, educational measurement and evaluation, pedagogy of social science, ODL blended and online education. He is doing a lot of activities in IGNOU. He is planning, designing, developing courses for ODL, blended and online programs. As I said to you, he has been an excellent student with first class career, and he has been supported by Commonwealth of Learning Scholarship to present papers in Hong Kong and Canada. The biggest achievement which he got was the recognition as best program of which he is coordinating MA education program in IGNOU in the 36th Foundation Day of IGNOU, organized on 19th November 2021. It is a matter of great prestige to get this kind of honor. He has more than 20 years teaching experience both in online and offline, and he coordinates several programs. The key among them are MA in Education, BA General CBCS Education subject, and Postgraduate Diploma in Adult Education. He is coordinating a number of courses. I am not going to read all those courses, what he is doing. He has several books, several publications, but most important is that his courses in SWAYAM are well sought after, and he has developed 4 courses in SWAYAM: Understanding Disciplines and Subjects, Assessment for Learning, Contemporary India and Education, and Education Concept, Nature and Perspective. He uses social media extensively for his teaching. You will be amazed to know the teacher in him. He has developed his own YouTube channel, Transforming Education, and as expected, there are more than 2 lakh viewers, several thousand subscribers who regularly listen to his talks. He has done several teleconferencing and IRC sessions, and he has done several projects. Key among them was that status of state open universities funded by ICSSR project. He has been a resource person sought after in many lectures, webinars, workshops, etc. With this small introduction, I would request him, who is also a part of the NEP PDP committee in IGNOU, an excellent teacher, an excellent human being, an excellent colleague, to deliver his talk on NEP 2020 and teacher education. You may just start your lecture, sir, in a minute.
Thank you, Professor Bhaskar, for a nice introduction. The work that presently I am doing in IGNOU. The most importantly, I am a teacher and I am engaged with reaching to my students by using multiple media. And today the topic that has been allotted to me for discussion, that is National Education Policy 2020 and teacher education. I will be touching upon the important aspect of teacher education that are being included, that are recommended in National Education Policy 2020. Let us go forward. Friends, the important discussion points that today we will be deliberating, we will be discussing in this session, that is first of all, why teacher education, what is the importance of teacher education, then the second important discussion point, that is what is the history of teacher education in India. Before discussing the recommendations of NEP 2020, we should have a background knowledge that what has been done earlier in our country so far as different aspect of teacher education is concerned. Because teacher education is not a today's subject, rather starting from the ancient time, there is the chronological development of teacher education, that how we conceptualize education, the system of education that we have to follow, that we have to practice in our country, then accordingly how we prepare teachers. So keeping in consideration, in this session we will be discussing the very history, very development and the chronology of teacher education, and further we will be moving to understand teacher education programs currently offered in India. What are the different teacher education programs, teacher education courses that are being offered in India. Then our next discussion point will be the pedagogical and curricular structure of teacher education as per the NEP 2020. As you know, teacher education, preparing teachers or the teacher education programs, or mostly the teacher education aspect, is not an isolated matter. Rather, that is somehow related with the school education. The structure, the pedagogical structure, the curricular structure of school education. So keeping in consideration, first we will discuss that what is the new pedagogical and curricular structure of school education as per NEP 2020, and further as per the pedagogical and curricular structure, how we have to prepare the teacher. So that's why this section is also another important discussion point of our discussion today. Then further, the most important aspect that we will be touching, that we will be discussing, that is recommendations on NEP 2020 on teacher education. So these are the certain focused points that we will be deliberating. Now let us go forward. Let me to give certain thought on teachers and teacher education, just like if I will highlight what Rabindranath Tagore says about teacher. Rabindranath Tagore says, a teacher can never truly teach unless he or she is still learning himself or herself. A lamp can never light another lamp unless it continues to burn its own flame. It means it talks a lot about the teacher. One cannot be a teacher without exploring the abilities, the attitudes and the skills that the person is already having. So that's why unless the teachers are empowered, unless the teachers are properly educated, unless the teachers are properly skilled, properly competent, then the teacher cannot teach the students, cannot transmit similar types of learning experiences to the students. So that's why Rabindranath Tagore's concept on teacher and teacher education is very contemporary, and you will find in this NEP 2020 that somehow this has been reflected in the fundamental principles of this NEP 2020. Further, let me to focus upon the concept of teacher and teacher education as reflected in different education commissions. Just like if I will highlight the Education Commission 1964-66, it says that the destiny of India is now being shaped in her classrooms. We should understand that how much important it is. Our classroom where we construct, where we prepare the future generation, the citizens for those who will take the responsibility for the development of this country. So that's why what type of education, what type of experiences, what type of value-based learning we should provide to our learners from the school, from the classroom, so that they can contribute a lot for the national development. So this is the concept that that has been deduced from the Education Commission 1964-66, that we call as the Kothari Commission. Further, if I will highlight the National Policy on Education 1986, it says that the status of teacher reflects the socio-cultural ethos of the society. It is said that no people can rise above the level of its teachers. Try to understand the very philosophy of this concept. Now, in NEP 2020, if you will go through the fundamental principles, you will find that the Indian knowledge system, Bharatiya Gyan Parampara, this has been highly highlighted, that how we prepare a group of learners, how we prepare a new generation, those who will well equipped with the traditional knowledge that we practice in our country. That's called as the Indian knowledge system, which is very much value based. From our culture, there are a lot of things that we understand and we practice from the very beginning, from our home environment, and when we enter to the larger unit of the society, to the larger unit of the community, we also understand it and we also practice it. So that's why the National Policy on Education 1986 is also highlighted on socio-cultural ethos of the society and how it will be reflected in our education system, and ultimately how this will included in teacher education program for preparing quality teachers. Then further, if I will go through the concept given by Dr. Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan, the first president of independent India. Dr. Radhakrishnan says that instead of celebrating my birthday, it would be proud privilege if 5th September is observed as Teachers' Day. You see how Dr. Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan has given importance to a noble profession or to a teacher. So that's why teacher is the backbone of our country, because teacher prepares for the future generation. So keeping in consideration of all such concepts, now let us move to understand the very history of teacher education that has been already done in our country. Let me we have very positive time here, limited time, within 1 hour. We have to discuss the vast area of teacher education. Now let me just touch upon some of the committee and commissions that has been established after independence. I am not going the development of teacher education before independence because it will take a lot of time. I am just highlighting some of the important work on teacher education after independence. First, I can say that the recommendations relating to University Education Commission, that's called as that's popular with the name of Radhakrishnan Commission, that was established in 1948-49. Teacher education is a section of this commission, the report of this commission. And the second is Secondary Education Commission, that is popularly known as the Mudaliar Commission, that was established in 1950-53. Then further, the National Education Commission, that's called as Kothari Commission, that was established in 1964. The National Policy on Education, that was established in 1968. The National Commission on Teachers, that's popularly known as Chattopadhyay Committee, that was established in 1983 and 83 to 85. Then further, the National Policy of Education 1986. Then revised national policy of education, that's called as program of action, that is in 1992. Then further YESPAL committee report, that is in 1993. Then the national curriculum framework, popularly known as NCF 2005. Then further the National Knowledge Commission NKC, that was from 2005 to 2008. Then National Curriculum Framework for Teacher Education, which is a teacher education curriculum framework that is developed by NCTE, that's called as NCFTE in 2009. Then the recent, the contemporary and the current development, that is the recommendation relating to teacher education policy NEP 2020. So friends, lot of things have been done in this country relating teacher education, how we prepare teachers for providing better education, for preparing value-based, you can say, learners. Further, they will take care and they will take the responsibility of the national, our national development, the development of our country. And I am not going through the recommendations of all the committees and commissions that has been developed earlier. I am just highlighting some of the recommendations of important commissions, just like as per the University Education Commission 1948-49. The commission recommends that the nomenclature from teacher training, it should be changed to teacher education, and further the commission also recommended flexible courses and adaptable to local circumstances, that how to develop a proper teacher education curriculum which is very much aligned with our local tradition, our local resources, and how we can develop it in a very local circumstances. And today in NEP 2020 also you will find that this has been highlighted, that how to use the local resources to train the learner, to educate the learner. Then further, course should be remodeled. Then suitable schools should be used for practical teaching, as practical teaching, or that's called as the practice teaching or the intensive. That is one of the very important part of any teacher education program. So that's why the University Commission also given its recommendation on the proper practical activities should be incorporated in teacher education curriculum. Then the recommendation is also on more time for school practice, because preparing teacher is related with the school based activities, the overall, the holistic things which is going on in the school. So how to link teachers with the school environment, with the school climate. And further, the first conference of training college was held in Baroda in 1950. So these are some of the important aspects that was addressed in University Education Commission in 1948-49, just after the independence. And further, if I will highlight some of the important recommendations of Secondary Education Commission, that's called as the Mudaliar Commission in 1950-53 on teacher education. It focuses on training college should be organized, refresher courses, training on extracurricular activities should be there in teacher education program, stipend facilities for the student teachers should be given, practical and realistic methods of teaching should be adopted, should be practiced in teacher education program. Then two types of training, that is for the primary teachers and as well as for the secondary teachers. It means the teachers who will teach to the primary students, their training will be separate from the teachers who will teach to the secondary students. So these are the certain recommendations. And very quickly to touch upon some of the important recommendations of National Education Commission, that is 1964-66, which is called as the Kothari Commission. It recommends that removing isolation of teacher training programs. Teacher training programs should be linked with the other disciplines, should be linked with the other program. Okay, as teacher education is an integrated program, or you can say it is a multidisciplinary program. This is not a single discipline oriented program. So that's why the isolation should be removed and proper linking, proper collaboration should be there. And further, establishment of Department of Education in selected universities was also one of the recommendation. Then establishment of State Board of Teacher Education and further collaboration with schools for practice teaching. Then duration of teacher education program, that is 2 years for primary teachers and 1 year for secondary teachers. So these were the important recommendation of the National Education Commission 1964-66. And further to focus upon the national policy on education, that's called as the first national policy on education. First national policy on education in our country, that is 1968. It focuses on teacher education in different aspects, just like proper emolument and service condition for teacher. If you will not provide proper service condition, proper working culture, proper working condition in our institution for the teachers, then teacher cannot perform their duty properly. They cannot create a new generation. They cannot create efficient and effective new generation. So that's why proper service conditions should be provided to the teachers. And further, the commission also recommends academic freedom for teachers for independent study and research. So conducting research and the teacher, they should involved to work independently with their thought process is also another important aspects as per the NP in 1968. Because if you will not provide autonomy to the teachers, then the ability of the teachers and what the teachers thinks, it may not practically possible. And further, the commission also recommends due emphasis on in-service teacher education. You see, India is a huge country. Only pre-service teacher education program cannot address the millions of preparing the millions of teachers. So that's why in-service teacher education programs that we call teacher education in open and distance learning system, which also given importance as per the recommendation of this commission. Then further, to focus upon the National Commission on Teacher, that is in 1983 and 85, it focuses upon 4-year training course after senior secondary and 5-year training course leading to graduation and training. So here let me to focus upon. In NEP 2020 today, we are talking the ITEP program, Integrated Teacher Education Program, 4-year Integrated Teacher Education Program. And this recommendation is not today's recommendation. Rather, if you go through the National Commission on Teacher in 1983-85, the commission says that a 4-year integrated teacher education program should be developed in this country and 5-year training course should also be developed. And again, it also recommends that for improvement of physical facilities in 4-year integrated teacher education colleges, that it requires huge infrastructure, it requires huge resources to operate a 4-year integrated teacher education program. So that's why the institution should ready, the institution should manage, and the institution should create that resources for dealing the students, for dealing the teacher educators, and for dealing the teacher trainees. And further, it also recommends implementation of rigorous internship instead of a simple practice teaching. So let me to focus upon practice teaching is a very narrow concept. Okay, but when we say internship, it includes practice teaching as well as it also includes the you can say the other things, the day-to-day activities that are being conducted, that are happened in the school, just like starting from morning assembly till assessment and other types of activities. So that's why proper internship should be done in teacher education programs. And today in NEP 2020, you will find that this has been highlighted and focused that how rigorous internship should be conducted in the ITEP program, in the teacher education, in the integrated teacher education program. The students will go to the schools, the trainee teachers will go to the schools, and they will stay there months together, and they will earn many experiences, and they will earn skills and competencies, how to teach the students, how to deal the students for their total development, for their all-round development. Further, curriculum includes general and professional education, the Commission says that the teacher education curriculum, it should include both general education, the foundation courses, the prospective courses, and at the same time the school based and the practice oriented practical courses that will help the teachers further to teach the students in the class. And to focus upon very quickly the other recommendations given by the National Policy and Education NPE 1986, that is linking in-service and pre-service teachers education programs. So how to link in-service and pre-service education programs, establishment of District Institute of Education and Training, that's called as DIET, then upgradation of College of Education to College of Teacher Education, that's called as the CTE, today it is functioning, then establishment of Institute of Advanced Studies in Education, that's called as the IASC, that is also today also it, the IASCs are established in different states and different institutions are there. Then strengthening of SCRT, State Council of Educational Research and Training, as per the NCRT, so that they will take up the work for preparing quality teachers and quality teacher educators. Now let me to focus upon, after understanding or after having a brief historical overview about teacher education programs and the development teacher education. Now presently, what are the teacher education programs, teacher education courses are being implemented in our country? As you know, the NCTE, National Council for Teacher Education, which is the regulatory body of teacher education program in our country. Presently, if you go through NCTE website, you will find these are the certain programs are available. Just like teacher education programs are available, just like diploma in teacher education, that is DLED, then bachelor in elementary education, that's called as a BLED, bachelor in elementary education, then bachelor of education, that is B.Ed, then master of education, that is M.Ed. Both B.Ed and M.Ed are now 2 years program. Then diploma in physical education. As you know, the discipline of physical education is also an integrated part of teacher education, integrated part of school education. Okay, so that's why NCTE, National Council for Teacher Education, as the regulatory body, it deals teacher education as well as the physical education. So that's why NCT has also developed diploma in physical education, that is DPED, then bachelor, then master in physical education, that is the MPEd, BPEd and MPEd, then diploma in elementary education, DL in ODL mode, open and distance learning mode. Okay, so just like DL, diploma in elementary education, it functions, it operates in the face-to-face and conventional education system, then accordingly the norms have also developed for operating, for transacting, for implementing the diploma in elementary education program that prepares teachers starting from class 1 to class 8, and the curriculum is also available in ODL, and teachers are also getting trained in ODL so far as elementary education is concerned. Then further, Bachelor of Education, that is B.Ed in ODL, just like B.Ed in face-to-face and conventional education system. Then accordingly, Bachelor of Education program is also developed by NCTE. The curriculum is developed by NCTE, and many institutions today currently they are also running the B.Ed program in open and distance learning. Indira Gandhi National Open University is also very successfully implemented this B.Ed ODL program, and this is one of the flagship and one of the very popular program of Indira Gandhi National Open University. Then the other teacher education program, just like for the you can say integrated and total holistic development of the learners, the other programs, the curriculums for other teacher education programs are also developed, have also developed by the NCTE, just like diploma in visual arts, diploma in performing arts, then BA B.Ed, BSc B.Ed, 4-year integrated program. Try to understand the one and unique and the innovative recommendation of NEP 2020 is the 4-year integrated program. Okay, to conceptualize a 4-year integrated program, and the notification has already done, and now that's called as the ITEP program. The ITEP program has also been implemented. So you will find this curriculum that is in the NCTE website. Then further B.Ed part-time program, then B.Ed M.Ed 3 years integrated program. So accordingly 14 teacher education programs, the curriculum for these 14 teacher education programs are developed, and it is in the website of NCTE. So these are the present teacher education program that we are practicing. Now friends, let us come to understand that how, keeping in consideration of the historical development and the present teacher education programs and curriculums and practices that are being that are happening in our country, so how we can link it with the recommendations of the National Education Policy, especially on teacher education. And now just very quickly let me to highlight that in the document of National Education Policy you will find that the entire 66 pages of the report, the NEP report, you will find this has been developed in 4 parts. Part 1 is on school education, that includes the early childhood care education. Part 2 is on higher education, that includes the teacher education aspect also. And part 3 is other key areas of focus, that includes professional education and adult and lifelong learning. And part 4, that is making it happen. It means including financial provisions for implementing this NEP, and at the same time different implementation aspect, that how this policy can be implemented properly. And here in these 4 parts, if you will go through the documents, definitely you will find that the component of teacher education is somehow related with the part 1, that is school education, including early childhood care education, because in early childhood care education, for preparing teachers, we require a teacher education program, okay, for nursery teachers, teachers for the foundational stage. And at the school education, it may be a preparatory stage, it may be middle stage, and it may be at the secondary stage. For preparing teacher, we should have a proper teacher education program, okay. So that's why part 1 is highly related with the teacher education, and in the second part, when we talk about higher education, then definitely teacher education is a part of it, and this has been reflected. So these are the 4 important parts for keeping in consideration the NEP report has been conceptualized. And now let me to focus upon that I was talking earlier, the pedagogical and curricular structure of school education and how it differs from the earlier academic structure. Earlier academic structure as per National Policy on Education 1986, that was a 12 years of school education, just like 10 plus 2 system of education, 10 years of school education up to 10th board, and then after 2 years of senior secondary or higher secondary education, that includes class 11th and class 12th. But now, as per the new pedagogical and curricular structure, you will find from this document that now the entire school education has been classified in 4 different stages. That's called as the foundational stage, preparatory stage, middle stage and secondary stage. Foundational stage is of 5 years, that is the first 3 years is the nursery education, that is Anganwadi, preschool and Balbatika education, and that includes another 2 years, that is class 1 and class 2 from the formal schooling. So it includes with the nursery, so that the foundational stage will be the 5 years. Then preparatory stage is of 3 years, that starts from class 3 to class 5, and age range will be age 8 to age 11. Then middle stage education, that includes class 6 to class 8, 6, 7 and 8. Age appropriation will be 11 to 14. Then accordingly, secondary education, it includes 4 years of secondary education, that is class 9 to class 12. Class 9, class 10, class 11 and class 12. And age appropriation it starts from age 14 to 18, 14, 15, 16, 14 to 18. So these 15 years of school education, that is the new curricular structure now. Why I am highlighting this school education curricular structure? Because Accordingly, the new pedagogical structure, new curricular structure, we have to prepare the teacher. Then accordingly, we have to conceptualize the teacher education programs. We have to develop the teacher education program accordingly. So that's why teacher is required for dealing the foundational stage students, for preparatory stage students, for middle stage students, and at the same time for the secondary stage students. So that's why accordingly we have to prepare teacher education. Now, let me to very briefly focus upon the important aspects that are included in the teacher education as per teacher education component in NEP 2020. First of all, teacher preparation is an activity that requires multidisciplinary perspectives and knowledge, formation of dispositions and values, and development of practice under the best method. So try to understand, as I was talking earlier, in the fundamental principles of this NEP 2020, it also focuses upon the multidisciplinarity of education system. Okay, so when we conceptualize teacher education, directly or indirectly, we address many disciplines, multiple disciplines. Okay, because in teacher education, you will find that many pedagogy courses are there, just like pedagogy of mathematics, pedagogy of science, pedagogy of social science, pedagogy of different languages. It may be regional languages, it may be English literature, it may be Hindi. So here, unless we establish a multidisciplinary culture in our educational institutions, we cannot prepare good teacher education program. We cannot prepare good teachers. And our teacher education program should be value based, and it should be with proper mentoring. And again, the other recommendations are just like teacher must be grounded in Indian values, languages, knowledge, ethos, and traditions. That includes tribal traditions, while also being well versed in the latest advances in education and pedagogy. So try to understand, we are talking about the IKS, Bharatiya Gyan Parampara, Indian knowledge system. So what is this Indian knowledge system? Unless we incorporate the values, our cultural diversities, you can say the rich practices that we do from rural India, from remote India to the urban India, we cannot prepare good citizens. We cannot create value-based teachers, value-based citizens. So that's why we have to change our teacher education program. So that's why this has been highlighted in the teacher education as per in the NEP 2020. The other important recommendations, if I will go through, the Justice J.S. Burma Commission in 2012, this has been highlighted in the report of the NEP 2020. Justice J.S. Burma Commission says that the teacher education sector and its regulatory system are therefore in urgent need of revitalization through radical action, radical change, a drastic change in order to raise standards and restore integrity, credibility, efficacy, and high quality to the teacher education system. Try to understand. J.S. Burma Commission has raised many issues that how to revamp, how to make a paradigm shift in teacher education program, because it is the need of the time. We should restore the integrity of teachers, we should restore the credibility of the teacher, we should develop the efficacy, the efficiency among the teachers, and at the same time we should develop high quality teachers, we should create high quality teachers. So how it is possible? Unless we transform the system, unless we prepare a good curriculum, unless dedicatedly we work with teacher education, we cannot prepare good teachers. So that's why Justice J.S. Burma Commission, it is focused in the NEP 2020, and accordingly the government is also working. And for the other recommendations are teacher education in NEP 2020. You see, the NEP highlighted and focused that by 2030, only educationally sound, multidisciplinary and integrated teacher education programs shall be enforced. Try to understand. So now, as I was talking earlier, that what are the different teacher education programs that are being practiced today in our country as per NCT, as per the regulatory body. But by 2030, you will find that the teacher education program will be offered only in the multidisciplinary institutions, where disciplinary practices will be there from multiple disciplines. Okay, so teachers will get holistic knowledge, integrated knowledge. It is not only knowledge relating to pedagogy, rather knowledge relating to their interest of subject. So that's why how to do it. And by 2030, you will find that only one teacher education program will continue in this country, will offer in this country. That's called as the ITEP, Integrated Teacher Education Program. And slowly this 2 years program and other programs by 2030, today I cannot say in future what will happen, but definitely the recommendation says that by 2030 we have only ITEP program, and that will be offered by the multidisciplinary practices in institutions. That all teacher education programs must be conducted within composite multidisciplinary institutions, just like the universities and just like the colleges, where multiple disciplines, multiple faculties are there, multiple streams are there. And again, very important recommendation, that is all multidisciplinary universities and colleges will aim to establish education departments which, besides carrying out cutting edge research in various aspects of education, will also run B.Ed programs in collaboration with other departments such as psychology, philosophy, sociology, neuroscience, Indian languages, arts, music, history, literature, physical education, science and mathematics. So try to understand. Here the teacher education programs, what concept has been given, what principles has been given, that the multidisciplinary institutions, the institution will provide the teacher education program will also linked with these disciplines, so that holistic development of knowledge, holistic development of pedagogic practices will be happened among the teacher. And further, other important recommendation of teacher education as per NEP 2020 are just like all stand-alone teacher education institutions will be required to cover to multidisciplinary institutions by 2030, since they will have to offer the 4-year integrated teacher preparation program. Try to understand the stand-alone teacher education institutions. Now you will find that thousands of stand-alone teacher education institutions are there in our country. They are offering the 2 years B.Ed program, 2 years M.Ed program, and also DLED, 2 years DLED program. So as per the recommendation of NEP 2020, so all the stand-alone teacher education institutions will be converted to multidisciplinary institutions by 2030, and they will offer the 4-year integrated teacher education program, that's called as ITEP program. The next 4-year integrated B.Ed offered by such disciplinary higher education institutions will by 2030 become the minimal degree qualification for school teachers. So here what will be the qualifications for the school teachers to appoint as a teacher? So that's why when 4-year integrated teacher education program will be mandatory for this country for preparing teachers, then accordingly the qualification of the teachers to be a teacher at the school stage, it may be foundational stage or at the preparatory stage or at the middle stage or at the secondary stage, should be those have done ITEP program and integrated teacher education program. Further, the other important aspect, just like 4-year integrated B.Ed will be a dual major holistic bachelor's degree in education as well as a specialized subject. So in 4 years, what are the things, what are the learning experiences the teacher trainees will get? So first of all, they will get a teacher education degree. It may be a B.Ed degree and at the same time a graduation degree, just like BA B.Ed. That means a dual degree the learners will get, BA with B.Ed. BSc B.Ed, they will get a BSc degree with a B.Ed degree. BCom B.Ed, they will get a BCom degree, Bachelor of Commerce, and at the same time they will get a B.Ed degree. So This is the structure of 4-year integrated program, that they will get a dual degrees. The language, history, music, mathematics, computer science, chemistry, economics, art, physical education, etc. are part of the specialized degree, or you can say this will be the basic degree, you can say, with the teacher education degree, with the B.Ed degree. And further, teacher education will include grounding in sociology, history, science, psychology, early childhood care education. We have huge teachers, those are at present teaching and engaged in the Anganwadi system, in the nursery education system of our country. And they are not having properly trained. The data, it may be in few lakhs. So how to train them? Unless we formalize the early childhood care education, unless we prepare teachers who will take care of the early childhood care education, we cannot provide good education. So that's why in NEP 2020 you will find that the national curriculum framework will also develop, and that has been notified, that is an early childhood care education. Means the norms and standards have been developed for implementation, has already started. What I mean to say, this has been mentioned in NEP and this has already implemented, and lot of work is going on. So how to prepare teachers for nursery education, for early childhood care education. Then for foundational literacy and numeracy, NCERT has done the midterm survey, the assessment, the learning assessment of the learners, especially in language and mathematics subjects, and the report says that the learners, mostly the learners, the students, they are not up to the mark, up to the level. They have not achieved the minimum level of learning, the minimum competencies, okay, the skills and competencies. So far as the fundamental literacy is concerned and fundamental computing, that's called as the numeracy is concerned. So that's why how to include it in the rigorous teacher education program, so that we can prepare good citizen, knowledgeable citizen, and who are very much acquainted and very much skilled and competent to the matter relating to literacy, relating to language, and at the same time relating to skills of computing. Then knowledge of India and its values, ethos, arts, traditions, and many more, it should be addressed in teacher education program. So these are also important aspects, that how to prepare a value teacher. The next is the other recommendations, just like higher education institution offering a 4-year integrated teacher education program can also run 2-year B.Ed for students who have already received a bachelor's degree in a specialized area, and 1-year B.Ed for candidates who have received a 4-year undergraduate degree in a specialized area. Yes, 4-year integrated teacher education program will be there, and at the same time they can also run the 2-year and 1-year B.Ed for the learners those have already graduated in the present system, in the world system. Okay, those have get a 3 years graduation degree, and at the same time those have done a graduation degree, 4-year undergraduate degree, for them 1-year B.Ed program will be developed. Then now let me do, we are at the final, you can say, end stage of our concluding stage of our presentation. Let me focus upon some of the important aspect, very relevant recommendation on teacher education as per NEP 2020. Just like scholarships should be provided for 4-year, 2-year or 1-year B.Ed students, so that they can attract towards this noble teaching profession, and they should come forward to be a teacher, and they should pursue the 4-year integrated teacher education program. Then efficient faculty in education related disciplines should be appointed, so that they can take care the teacher education program, and they will wholeheartedly involved in preparing teachers. Then higher education institution will have network of government and private schools, so that the internship and school based activities, it should be done properly. And again, involvement in community service, adult and vocational education should be there. Unless we linked our teachers, our teacher education program to community service for the development of different social work, we cannot say that we have prepared the value teachers. So that's why how to integrate and how to you can say integrate teacher education programs with the society and with the community is also another important recommendation. Then admission through the NTA, the National Testing Agency. NTA will take admission, will take the test for admitting the teachers so far as the 4-year integrated teacher education program is concerned. Then strengthen multidisciplinary education system, as I have already said that how to develop an institution who are multidisciplinary in nature. Okay, so that's why it is nowadays, or we can say presently, this is a challenge before us, that how to convert the stand-alone teacher education institution to a multidisciplinary nature of teacher education institution, because it requires huge resources, it requires classrooms, it requires other resources, and mostly it requires teachers, subject teachers. Next, another important recommendation, that is on PhD scholars in education. That is also part of teacher education. The dedicated learners after doing their master in education, so when they will come forward for pursuing research in education discipline, so what are the different things they are supposed to do? So here PhD program in education should not be an isolated program, rather the PhD scholars should be involved in teaching credit based courses. They should teach in the institutions, and teaching they should involved in teaching different pedagogy courses. Then they will involve in writing materials, then designing curriculum, then engage in evaluation system, and at the same time teaching assistantship certificate. They will involve in teaching assistantship, and at the same time certification will also be done for them. So that's why research scholar in education will not do only research in education, rather they will get a multifarious experience in teaching as well as in research. And further, if I focus upon another few important aspects, just like so far as the professional development of teacher, the teacher educators are concerned. So in service continuous professional development programs should be developed through face-to-face, online and blended mode. And today you will find that many online courses, it may be in Swayam, it may be in Diksha, that have been developed, and millions of teachers, they are getting enrolled, they are registering themselves in Swayam courses, and even if in the Diksha platform, and they are getting develop themselves so far as pedagogy is concerned, so far as the contextual learning methods are concerned, contextual development in science and technology is concerned. And finally, standardized online teaching programs for large number of teachers, that is today also it is happening, and in future this is expected that the number of professional development online programs for the teachers and teacher educators will be developed for the benefit of the teachers. And finally, this is the last slides, a national mission for mentoring shall be established with a large pool of outstanding senior or retired faculty, including those with the ability to teach in Indian languages, who would be willing to provide short and long-term mentoring or professional support to university and college teachers. So how to use the expertise of the senior persons, those can provide better mentoring to the institutions and to the universities. This is also another important recommendations of teacher education as per NEP 2020. Friends, for further queries, you can write to me niradhar@ignou.ac.in. You can make me a telephone call. My intercom is 2994. You can visit my Facebook, my YouTube channel, as Professor Bhaskarji said, that is Transforming Education. You will find more than 260 video lessons are there, and many contextual video lessons you will find relating to NEP on teacher education and other aspects. Thank you so much for providing this opportunity to discuss on teacher education aspect of NEP 2020. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Niradhar Dey, that you gave a wonderful trace the evolution of teacher education right from independence through different commissions, and also you spoke about NEP and its relation focusing on teacher education, its recommendations, how it recommends for the research scholars. I think the teachers must have benefited. There are a lot of questions, but the problem is of time. I'm sure they will watch your videos which you have said. I have tried to summarize the questions and club them because most of them fall under some category. So the main important question which they are asking is, what is ITEP which you mentioned in your talk?
Yeah, it's a pertinent question, Professor Bhaskar. That's called as ITEP, Integrated Teacher Education Program. This is a 4-year teacher education program, and the learners, those are interested, they will enter this program just after completion of their 12th. That means after school education. Okay, and 3 types of programs are there in ITEP. That's called as BA B.Ed. Means in 4 years they're supposed to study the curriculum of BA, Bachelor of Arts, and at the same time teacher education courses will be integrated with the BA curriculum, so that they will get a dual degree. That means BA degree and at the same time a BA degree. And accordingly BSc B.Ed, that means the learners those have studied science at the higher secondary stage, okay, so they can pursue BSc B.Ed program. So they will get in 4 years, they will get 2 degree, BSc degree, at the same time B.Ed degree, then accordingly become a B.Ed. Okay, so here the important thing is, it is not only to get a dual degree, rather how to develop this ITEP curriculum, the integrated 4-year integrated teacher education curriculum, so that the learners will engage themselves with the content based discourses at the same time. So how to transact that content to the students. Okay, so that is the most important aspect. So that's why preparing the curriculum and transacting it in the practical classroom is really a challenge. So this is the ITEP program, and this has already been started. The Ministry of Education has already notified and shortlisted the institutions also. We can, the multidisciplinary institutions, as I have already said, we can offer this 4-year integrated teacher education program, and every day the development is happening, and I think this is the future. So far as teacher education program is concerned, this is the future. By 2030, there will be the one teacher education program, that is the ITEP, 4-year integrated teacher education program.
I think, thank you, Niradhar ji, you have explained very well. Due to paucity of time, I'll only take one more question. Again, it's all clubbed together, so many related to this. Just briefly you can explain, because of the time constraints, how professional development of teacher educators will be done as per NEP 2020. This is the question.
It's a very nice question. Professor Bhaskar, you must have gone through the the NEP 2020. In every aspect, it touches that how to prepare a teacher. It may be for school education or it may be for higher education. So that's why now the windows are open. The blended window is open, the face-to-face window is open, and at the same time the online window is open. You can take the example of the digital initiation that has been taken in our country. It may be the Swayam platform. You will find thousands of online short-term courses are there. 2 credit-based courses are there. It may be 2 credit, 4 credit, it may be 6 credit. Curriculum and other independent courses are there. And it may be Diksha also. Diksha also developed very good short-term small online MOOC that is for the professional development of the teacher. So that's why it may be for the professional development of teacher, or it may be for the professional development of teacher educators. So the 3 modes It may be face to face, that's conventional, it may be online, or it may be, the most important is the blended. So how we can blend so far as the need of the teachers are concerned, how we can blend the experiences, blend the components of our curriculum. So which part we can implement face to face and which part of the curriculum we can implement by using the online tools or the online platforms in online education system. So a lot of work is going on, just like if I'll give the example of Indira Gandhi National Open University. We have a national center here so far as SWAYAM is concerned, and at present you will find nearly 200 online courses are available, and lakhs of students are getting enrolled twice in every year, in January as well as in July, and they are pursuing their education. It may be a curriculum based, a degree based courses, and it may be professional courses also for their professional development. So that's why I think a lot of scope is there in NEP 2020 so far as professional development of teachers as well as professional development of teacher educators are concerned.
Thank you, Niradhar Dey. I think you have given wonderful, and thank you, teachers, for participating. I'm sure you must have benefited immensely from his lecture, and those who are attending should complete the MCQ and discussion forum and submit as soon as possible. Tomorrow you have one more day to do the needful. Thank you very much for participating, and thank you, Niradhar Dey, for the wonderful session. Thank you, sir.
Dear colleagues, I am so happy to be talking to university teachers. Universities, as we know, are the centers for creation of knowledge, dissemination of knowledge, generation of knowledge, augmentation of knowledge, and there are certain stages with which all of you are familiar. We are at this stage for the last 2 years we have been discussing the National Education Policy 2020. After about 37 years, a policy has come in the sector of education, and all of us, in fact, have eagerly awaited its arrival. Several of us have, in one way or the other, contributed its development and finalization. We have now the strength of this policy consists in terms of the analysis of experience that we have conducted, the experiences that we have gained in the post-independence period. They have all of them have been put into this making of this policy. And therefore, for the first time, we have a lot of things that we could discuss here in this particular interaction about teachers. I recall a statement made by Gunnar Vedel in his famous treatise, The Asian Drama. It was published in 1968 or 70 and was received world over. They discussed what would be the shape of progress and development in the newly independent countries. He focused on Asian countries. He has mentioned that teacher education institutions, teacher preparation institutions or organizations are the power plants of quality for these countries. See the focus. It meant that every ideology of progress and development, every plan and project of progress of development will depend upon how competent, committed, and performing your teachers are. Which means, how do you prepare your teachers? How a nation prepares its teachers, and how the teachers in turn prepare the nation, the new generation, the generations ahead. So he said, these are the power plants, wherever you prepare your teachers. And I would like all of us to comprehend that we are not talking only of school teachers, teachers at every stage. If teacher education institutions are doing their job, then these teacher educators have to be the best of the well-equipped persons in their professional fields. They will prepare good teachers, and when good teachers go to school, they will prepare good products. When they go to universities, they will focus on creation of knowledge and generation of knowledge and new knowledge, assimilation of knowledge. They will also develop analytical capacities, how a new change is to be interpreted and how it is to be utilized, if at all it is to be utilized. It is also worth remembering that every change is not worth being accepted as such. Change is everywhere, but progress is not everywhere. What we need is change with progress, and this is the basis of this policy, and the whole policy's implementation will depend upon teachers, and I will repeat this several times during this interaction. You see, I remember when I entered the university in the 6th and 5th decade of the last century, there was hardly any provision for orientation of university teachers. We learned from our senior teachers. The numbers, as all of you know, were very small of the universities, but reputations were very high. The credibility was very high. The reputation of individual teachers, university departments was very high, because what we observed was the level of commitment, competence, and a desire to grow regularly. The growing up was very important. Now, at this stage, let me tell you that I would like to refer to the policy rather indirectly in several occasions. We'll come to some of the direct quotations from the policy also. But I have before me a book which was written in 1932, and the title was Remakers of Mankind. The writer was Karl Washburn. Karl Washburn. He had an interaction with Gandhiji, and he said, what would be your goal in education? You see, I'm referring to something like 1930 or so. Book was published in 1932. He asked Gandhi at that stage, what would be your goal in education? And all of us know Gandhi was working very hard on education. And we'll make some reference to it later on. So, Gandhi's goal in education, he said, in one single term was, my goal would be character building. And then Washburn writes that Gandhi further told him, I would try to develop courage. Now see, these are the things that will determine the role of university teachers in the new education policy, in the National Education Policy 2020. I would try, Gandhi says, I would try to develop courage, strength, virtue, the ability to forget oneself in working towards great aims. What more could be said? This is more important than literacy. Academic learning is only a means to the great end. And this great end has 4 terms, extremely important terms, which every teacher has to internalize. The terms are courage, strength, virtue, and ability to forget oneself in working towards great aims. What more one could expect? Now, if we go to what the policy says several times, the Indian tradition of learning, we all have to comprehend what is the ancient Indian tradition of learning, which produced wonderful treatises on knowledge, scholarship, and so on. Their intuition, their efforts, their tapasya could be seen in the scriptures that India has from ancient times and which have attracted the attention of the world more than over 2 centuries ago. It all began and it continues. It has not yet been fully comprehended. Now, the very process of education in the current context has to remember one more thing, and all of us have to remember that no country can go ahead with a transplanted system of education. We have been talking a lot about this. We had criticized this system also very much. But now the national education policy gives us a system without any criticizing anything of the past. It gives us a future-oriented system. And as teachers, we have to grab the opportunity. I would like to refer to a small term. For the role, we shall use the term Uttardayitva. Uttardayitva is something which arrives from, in the Indian tradition, from the 3 debts that every one of us inherits as we take birth in this country. Our ancestors told us that when a person is born, he is indebted to, or he is in debt of, he owes 3 debts. First, Pitred, debt to the parents, to the family. Devarin, the debt to the nature. And Rishiran, the debt to those who have created knowledge, generated knowledge, and given us ways and means by which we are using that knowledge. And I will not go into elaborating these, but I would mention that if we analyze these in the current context, it refers to family bonds, our obligations to families, society. It refers to our obligations to nature, and it refers to our obligations to the knowledgeable, to the learners, to the Gyanis. Now, if you see the problems of today, because you shall be preparing, you are preparing the young persons who will develop the ideology of progress and development ahead. So if you go around these three, you will see most of the problems arise globally and nationally because we have been unfair to comprehension of these three basic postulates of how to live a human life. If we had taken care of our debt to the nature, if we have understood aparigraha, things would have been very different. We would not have been holding meetings, international conferences and confabulations on climate change, on pollution of air, pollution of water, and so many other environmental pollutions. But we did it. Let me tell you. The world of education is not the world of information alone. Information is necessary. It is not a world of knowledge alone. Knowledge is necessary. But it is also necessary on the part of teachers to comprehend the jnana and buddhi. सूचना, जानकारी चाहिए, ज्ञान चाहिए, बुद्धि चाहिए और इससे मिलाकर हमें विवेक भी चाहिए. The rich heritage and the policy, let me quote from the policy, how it summarizes this. The rich heritage of ancient and eternal knowledge and thought has been guiding light for this policy. Now this we have to comprehend. This will give us continuity of the ancient Indian tradition of knowledge quest to the present knowledge scenario. The pursuit of knowledge, jnana, wisdom, pragya, and truth, satya, was always considered in Indian thought and philosophy as the highest human goal. This is what our ancestors did and taught us by example of their own efforts. The aim of education in ancient India was not just the acquisition of knowledge as a preparation for life in this world or life beyond schooling, but for the complete realization and liberation of the soul. World-class institutions in India, such as Takshila, Nalanda, Vikramshila, Vallabhi, set the highest standards of multidisciplinary teaching and research, and hosted scholars and students from across backgrounds and countries. Why people flock to a particular institution? Because of the credibility of the institutions and credibility of their teachers. Every university is known by the contribution of their teachers, and which teachers who understand their role, their uttardayitva to the new generation, to the society, to the aspirations of the young and expectations of the nation. It all depends on the teacher. Again, link it to the Gunnar Medal's thesis. This is what it has been said here also. And the policy expects that once again our universities will rise to the level of Takshila, Nalanda, interpreted in the current context, and we shall be able to attract people. We need not announce that we are going to become Vishwaguru. If we move ahead, it is others who will come to us and say, yes, you are the Vishwaguru because you have so much of the storage of knowledge, so much of systems of creating knowledge that we would like to be part and parcel of it. There is one more paragraph that I would like to refer to it, but before that, let me mention that when the UNESCO's Delos Commission report was released in Geneva in 1996, I was present there. And this, as all of you know, was the report of a commission, independent commission appointed by the UNESCO to consider and give ideas on the shape of education in the 21st century. Jacques Delors gave a speech at that stage and said, education in every country must be rooted to culture and committed to progress. I have not forgotten their sentence ever since 1996. I always mention it. And I think this is what our policy does this time. It links the policy in toto to the tradition of Indian education systems. Let me also refer to one point. As teachers, what we are doing, many of these, I am going to mention 4 aspects, 4 stages of teaching and learning which could be the summary of Indian tradition of that developed in Gurukulas and continues for quite some time. And that is like this. First one is Adhyan. All of us know what is Adhyan. That is what happens in the classrooms, in the libraries, in others. The second aspect was Manan. Once you have heard a lecture, you have delivered a lecture, give a chance to the learners to think about it. What have I learned in the last 40 minutes, 50 minutes or 1 hour? And the moment the learner goes into this second aspect, Manan, a couple of questions will arise. His mind will active. He will have different opinions. He will like to say something more. He will like to know something more. And then it is the third stage is the Chintan, which roughly can be said to be something similar to peer learning. Talk to your friends, talk to others, talk in groups, interact. And once you interact, many of the things will be clarified. Major universities in the 60s and 50s of the last century focused on seminars where a teacher would interact with 6 or 7 students, 8 or 10 students, and they would have their queries, other things. So this Adhyan, Manan, Chintan were the key. And the most significant was the fourth, Upyog. Knowledge has a meaning only in our traditional thinking if it can be put to right use for the welfare of the people. If it cannot be put to use, it has no meaning. And this, I think, is basic thing that determines our role, our effort, our initiative, and also it's a measure of our competence and comprehension and commitment. So we go like this. But now I come to a more pragmatic thing. What the policy says about teachers. And this paragraph I must read. The teacher must be at the center of the fundamental reforms in education system. This is what I have elaborated earlier. The new education policy must help re-establish teachers at all levels. This is a very significant sentence. I will discuss it later on, but let me read it. Re-establish teachers at all levels as the most respected and essential members of our society because they truly shape our next generation of citizens. It must do everything to empower teachers, here referring to policy, it must do everything to empower teachers and get help and help them to do their job as effectively as possible. The new education policy must help recruit the very best and brightest to enter the teaching profession at all levels by ensuring livelihood, respect, dignity, and autonomy, while also instilling this in the system basic methods of quality control and accountability. This is a complete statement which, if understood in the right spirit, will clearly delineate to every individual teacher what is expected of him. And as you know, we had a lot of discussion a couple of years ago about the education in Finland. I also participated in it, but what I learned and inferred from all this discussion was, I said it also, we are not eligible even to talk about it. And people disliked this sentence. Why? I said in Finland, I like something which is not in the curriculum and textbooks, which the society has given to the education system. In Finland, the most respected person, the most respected category, the most respected individual is the teacher. There is only one category of VIPs, and that is the teachers. Everywhere they get respect. Whether they are primary teachers, whether they are university teachers, whether they are scholars, wherever they are teaching. A teacher is to be respected. This re-establishing the teacher, the teacher shall be re-established. Exactly. The traditional respect that Indian teacher enjoyed and which many of us had witnessed in our younger days has dissipated. There are various reasons, and we cannot go into this. Most of things are known to you, but a couple of things also I will mention in this. What can be done to empower teachers? If the teacher is satisfied, now a teacher cannot be satisfied if he is working as a Shiksha Karmi or a Guruji, or expected to perform all the duties on a small honorarium, uncertain of what will happen after 3 months, 4 months, and 10 months. A teacher cannot be expected to do research if he is working as a guest lecturer in a university or is being paid on lecture basis. This is not this giving respect to the teachers. I am happy and satisfied, and I have high hopes that one of the things mentioned in the policy is that only regular teachers shall be appointed. If this can be achieved in this country, I am sure the quality of education will rise at least 15 to 20% without any other additional inputs. So this is one thing. The other is the administrative system. The systems of governance must give due respect to teacher everywhere, whether it is the office of the district education officer, whether it is the office of the Higher Education Council or the University Grants Commission, anywhere. If a teacher comes, he has to be given due respect. And the other aspect that the society has to consider, and all of us have to consider, how can we attract the most talented persons to the teaching profession? We know that it was that some 60, 70 years ago, we got the most talented persons. Now there are so many avenues, there are so many other systems which are more attractive, and we will not be in a position to say that we are getting the best of the lot. But yes, we have to try our best in this direction also, and we hope that after the policy is implemented, this system of appointing people on temporary basis, ad hoc basis, remuneration basis will vanish. It will give a tremendous amount of self-respect to the teacher, and every teacher who is expected to contribute must have a self-respect of the highest order. And one thing that I would mention is, all of us, this is our role, this is our responsibility to see that to realize we are creating the future of this country. You are creating the future of the country. You are giving direction to the lives of young persons. Gandhiji once wrote that his mother had told him, if you can save the life of one person, or if you can shape the life of one person, your life is successful. If you can do it for two, if you can do it for more, your life is more and more successful. Then he says, teachers can shape the life of not one or two, but hundreds and thousands. All of us are doing it, but let us be conscious of it. You are creating the future of the country. Never forget this sentence, even if things are not that happening the way we would like in the system, we shall be doing. I would like to mention a particular episode. In an international meeting, after my lecture, somebody stood up and said, I have stayed in India and I have seen the university system, I have seen the school education system. I am surprised why the system doesn't break up. It doesn't collapse. There is so much of disorganization. And several people liked the question. Suddenly I had to respond. I said, Indian education system will never collapse. Why? Because of the traditional commitment of the teacher at every stage. Wherever a teacher is there, he knows that he is doing a pious work. He is helping people to grow. And therefore, this system will never collapse. And I am confident that our teachers who work in the most difficult conditions, whether it is a university, think of the state level universities which have hardly 2 or 3 or 5 persons as regular faculty members. And I am really worried how the implementation of this policy will take place. The only hope lies that state governments and central governments will take very urgent steps, highly necessary steps to recruit people. You can enhance the quality of research, quality of every effort only in that light. Let me tell you one more thing which I like repeating to audiences whenever I talk, and that is, the educational leadership. I hope after the implementation of new policy, education leadership shall be consciously developed at every level. When I was a young person, my cousin, a vice chancellor, principal, was of a person who was respected by the society, who was a fountainhead of knowledge, scholarship, and who is a Gyani. Kings and emperors take dust from the feet of the Acharya of the Gurukulas. That is what can bring us up to level of Finland and others. He was the supreme person, the knowledgeable, the Gyani was the supreme person. We have to go back to that stage. The Kulpati should have the highest level of respect. The Acharyas should have the highest level of respect from the society. And the term Acharya, in fact, it defines all the roles of the teacher. Acharya are the icons. Think of a school child when the age of 7 years, when he goes, and after a few days, after a month or so, he tells the parents, oh, madam ne jo kaha hai wo sahi hai, aap galat kar rahe. The first icon of a child is the teacher. And this continues till he reaches the university. And many of us shaped our lives because of our teachers, the way they were conducting themselves, the way they were growing up, the way they were contributing to generation of knowledge, the way they were dealing with other faculty members, the way they were helping the newly recruited faculty members. All this we learned from them, and this is something that matters. Now here, I would like to quote from something published by Vivekananda Institute of Human Excellence, Hyderabad, on a scholar and a Gyani. Kindly permit me to read it, because we are referring to Taxila and Nalanda and Vikramshila, and we want to go back to that level or even higher than that. So now, how shall we proceed as teachers? I quote from this publication, scholarship and wisdom are not one and the same. A scholar is but a pandit without any wisdom. I would say a scholar could be a pandit without any wisdom. And a Gyani is wise, sometimes without being a scholar. All bookish knowledge is scholarship. There is no guarantee that scholarship will certainly lead to wisdom. Nor is there any certainty that a scholar will bosom as a wise person. Scholars may be large in number, almost in every country and age, but wise ones are rare, here and there, now and then. They are born to guide mankind. Sri Ramana and Sri Ramakrishna are Gyanis. Adi Sankara is both a scholar and a Gyani. It is wisdom and not scholarship that keeps us always calm and tranquil, serene and sober, peaceful and blissful. It keeps us above want. So it is better to be wise if we are to choose between the two. Now here what I wanted to, why I have quoted this is with a purpose. You see, I give an example in which many teachers have relished. You see, when the Los Alamos experiment, the atomic bomb explosion experimental took place in 1945 in Los Alamos, it was utilization of the highest knowledge available at that stage. But then what happened? While the scientists were thinking of how to utilize this knowledge for the welfare of mankind, those in power were thinking of something else. They had the authority and Hiroshima happened, Nagasaki happened. Knowledge can be misutilized. Knowledge can damage. Knowledge alone can damage. And therefore, I like the statement which I read from Bertrand Russell. Russell said, and this is something very important for as teachers, for us to know, man has no chance of survival if knowledge only remains knowledge But if we could transform knowledge into wisdom, he would not only survive, but will be able to ascend to greater and greater heights of achievements. In fact, I read it first, and then I was thinking how to understand this. Then this Hiroshima came to my mind. Knowledge alone could do so much of damage. And it is doing today also. We have now so much of atomic weapons, nuclear weapons, and the whole world is watching. Ukraine is happening. And therefore, it is the wisdom, it is the vivek that matters. As teachers at every stage, we have from information, knowledge, we have to go towards vivek. And going towards vivek means we have to be viveksheel ourselves. If you go through the policy, everywhere this is the expectation. Multidisciplinarity will require you to broaden your horizons. It would expect you not to remain confined only to a particular subject. I often say that a professor of physics is not only a professor of physics, he is a professor of physics and value education, professor of physics and character building, professor of physics and ethics, morals and values. This is the concept that emerges from the national education policy for teachers. We have to broaden our horizons. Therefore, Bertrand Russell has cautioned us. Others have also done it. That we have to be very particular. And he also says one thing. And this, I think, is very significant when critical thinking, analytical thinking aspects have been discussed in great detail in the policy. Now, as teachers in universities, we find certain inconvenient learners. And if you go through properly a proper analysis, as many of you have been doing, you will find some of those uneasy learners may have certain issues which, if solved, could bring out the best out of them. They may be brilliant, they may be very sharp. And this is our role. Our role is to ensure the individual differences are properly understood and inputs are provided accordingly. We can do it. If you have to look after analytical thinking, other things, this is the aspect which I have derived from Russell's statement, the example of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and which you can derive in your own manner from anywhere. But yes, our focus is on learning. It has been said that assessment procedures, examination systems have to change. And we shall not have any place for rote learning, what has been traditionally in our concept. Very nice. But first you have to prepare teachers who know how to evaluate, who can evaluate, and who should be innovating on how to evaluate the total achievements of the learner at every stage. Transitioning from marks and grades to a higher level of assessment of the individual's growth and personality is not an easy task. And all our tasks are not easy. We have to strive very hard to understand and then put before the society, before the young persons, what changes we shall bring down in assessment and learning. Now, this policy also has a lot for us to understand in terms of the philosophy of education as it has developed in India. I have mentioned the 4 terms, Adhyan, Manan, Chintan, Upyog. And along with that, I could also mention Prasth, Pratiprasth, Pariprasth, the great dialogical tradition. And I think I can also go into other things, but many of you are familiar and those details can be discussed, but those 3 terms were wonderful terms. Now, I also mentioned about Rishirin, Daivarin and Pitrin. All this links to the Indian tradition of knowledge, generation and creation and transfer. But now let me come to some recent past. And there I would like to mention what is Indian ethos, what teachers must understand. What is the Indian ethos before teachers? All of us know about Gandhi. Gandhi gave us a 3x3 matrix. Head, hand and heart, body, mind and spirit, self, society and nature. Let me repeat. to bring out the best out of head, hand and heart, to bring the best out of body, mind and spirit, and to bring the best out of self, society and nature. It is same. In the broader perspective, it is same. It is put in different manner. Gandhi's contribution to education still has a relevance. Basic education he used to talk, and today we say there will be no distinction between vocational education and academic education, liberal education. It will require tremendous effort on the part of us, the teachers, to integrate these two and generate interest in both. We need really scholars and gyanis who go to the highest level of researches. We also need people who can utilize these researches and transform them into practical gadgets and such applications that will help the society. And Gandhi always used to say, the last man in the line. Vivekananda. The Delos Commission report which I referred to is titled Learning the Treasure Within. When I saw it for the first time, the immediate tinkering of mind went to Swami Vivekananda's statement, education is manifestation of perfection already in man. It's a wonderful thing. Every learning is within the learner.
Hello learners, welcome to this video session today. My name is Furqan Qamar. I am professor at the Center for Management Studies in Jamia Millia Islamia. I also had the privilege of working as Vice Chancellor of the University of Rajasthan and the Central University of Himachal Pradesh. Also served as Advisor Education in Planning Commission and as Secretary General, Association of Indian Universities. Today, I'm going to discuss and speak on the issue of the importance of research and what are the prerequisites for promoting high-quality research in higher educational institutions. I'm sure that you all must know, or you will already be knowing, that universities have three interrelated functions that they need to discharge. The first function is that they need to generate knowledge. This is what makes universities different from school education. Universities are not only into the business of communicating knowledge or transacting knowledge, but they are essentially aimed at generating new knowledge, opening new frontiers, adding to the existing body of knowledge, and these are all the functions of research. These we do through research. Of course, the second important function of the universities are that you communicate, you transact knowledge for the benefit of your learner, and essentially it should ideally be a partnership between research and teaching, and in that case, the teaching becomes very relevant, directly appropriate, and contemporary, enabling students to become able to solve real life situations. So that should be the focus of the teaching. The third dimension of the research is that whatever universities do, either through research or by preparing students through their teaching abilities, the universities should be able to contribute for the general development, social and economic development of the communities nearby, and also for the larger good of the whole nation and of the world as a whole. So thus teaching, research, and extension or community engagements are important component of higher education. Amongst these three, many experts consider that research is most critical and most crucial dimensions of a university life. You take away research from the universities, and universities would be anything but higher education institutions. Now, there are certain details that we need to see as to why research are important. Now, these days, everybody speaks about the national education policy and what it prescribes. We know that the National Education Policy 2020 is targeting to take the participation rate in higher education from the present 27% to about 50% by 2035. The National Education Policy also aspires to have a system of education that India is second to no other country in the world. Now, India would be second to no other countries in education only if India is able to produce original research, see that these researches are monetized, these researches are commercialized, and they lead to not only the registration of patents, but they also lead to the commercialization of those patents. It is therefore not surprising that the National Education Policy 2020 mentions the idea of research and importance of research in over 37, 38 pages out of the 6-page document. And a number of academic reforms initiatives that it proposes is also aimed at promoting research in higher educational institutions. Now, the essential of the research that when a country or when a university is able to produce better high quality research with the help of their teachers and also with the help of their research scholar and other students on the campus, we could say that there are some prerequisites which need to be addressed. And these prerequisites are essentially classified into three broad groups. We need faculty, we need funds, we need freedom, and all of these three dimensions have also been emphasized in the National Education Policy. Let's first take funds as a prerequisite. Research today has become very, very expensive proposition, particularly in the disciplines of science and technology, where you need to set up labs and other infrastructure for conducting your research and doing your experimentation. Not only that, a general infrastructure development which makes or creates a good teaching learning environment on campus plays a very critical role in motivating people. These days, we see that many universities world over also provide incentive, often either through speedy promotion or through monetary incentives to people who publish high quality research. So all of these things taken together need money, need resources, need funds. And the National Education Policy talks about the creation of a National Research Foundation. The idea of the National Research Foundation as given in the National Education Policy is that it will provide access to funding for research on a competitive basis. People who aspire to conduct research in certain areas need to apply to the National Research Foundation, and National Research Foundation would sanction or provide adequate amount of funds to enable the university and the faculty to take up the area of research of his or her choice. The policy, in fact, makes sure that this National Research Foundation will provide funds over and above the funds which are already provided by many other existing institutions like the University Grants Commission for General Higher Education, the DST, DBT, and CSIR for scientific research, or by any other funding agency that exists at the moment. They will continue to provide funds, but over and above, this National Research Foundation would provide additional funds. This National Research Foundation shall have a corpus, and out of this corpus, this money would be provided. So fund is a very critical aspect for promoting research. The second thing, which is all the more critical, if you have all the funds available, but if you do not have capable people to take up research, then despite the availability of funds, the researches would not take place. Which are the critical resources? These are the human resources, and primarily these resources comprise of the teachers or faculty in higher education. About faculty, there are a few important things which need to be kept in mind, that we need adequate number of teachers in a university, and in that way for the nation as a whole. I think the adequacy of the teachers is measured usually in terms of the student-teacher ratio or student per teacher. If we analyze that what are the student-teacher ratio for the best world-class universities around the world, we find that this ratio varies between 8 to 12. Our national education policy has not prescribed any specific number of the student-teacher ratio, but it says that student-teacher ratio should not become too high. Because higher the student-teacher ratio, the teachers are more busy in the teaching activities than taking up research. So presently we have about 28 million or 2.8 crore students in higher education, and we have about 18 lakh teachers. So you can calculate the number of teachers per student or number of students per teacher. And in India, in higher education, our student-teacher ratio is still higher. And that is where the policy says that that number should not be high, that number need to be kept within a certain limits. So policy prescribes about the adequacy of the teacher. In addition to the adequacy of the teacher, what is critical is the quality of the teacher. And from the quality of the teacher's point of view, the draft national education policy was more specific, and it said that no teacher should be appointed on ad hoc or contrary or on guest faculty basis. Rather, the teachers should be properly appointed, properly recruited on full-time basis, so that right from day one, they could be engaged into their teaching, research, and extension activities. So quality of teachers are that the teachers are with suitable qualification in terms of the norms that has been prescribed for each department. At the same time, the quality of the teacher is also decided on the basis of their dedication and commitment to engage effectively into the teaching and research activities. So the focus should be on attracting the best talent that is available. Of course, I cannot say that the best talent, because the best perhaps is not a term which will apply, because we have to select people from within the talent pool that is available within the country. And what is that talent pool? The people who have qualified junior research fellowship or NET examination, or have completed PhD, or have qualified the GATE examination. These are some of the tests that determine the quality of the teacher, and it is only these people who are appointed. Many institutions also give some weightage, some preference to some foreign training by the students so that they could bring in the best techniques from anywhere in the world. So quality and the commitment of the teacher is extremely important. And the third dimension for creating that ecosystem is freedom, which in the academic circle is also known as the idea of the university autonomy. When we say autonomy, that does not mean autonomy or freedom to do whatever an individual or whatever a university wants to do, but the consensus on the definition is that by autonomy we should mean the freedom to do what we are expected to do. So what a university is expected to do? The university is expected to do teaching, research, and extension activities. And to be able to do these things, the universities need freedom, need autonomy. And that is why we see that over a period of time, there have been a lot of discussions and deliberations as to how to make universities free and autonomous. Of course, the other side of the coin is accountability, and quite often, policy planners insist that autonomy is fine, but then the universities should also be held accountable. Now, how do you hold a university accountable? One way could be that you hold teachers and researchers of the university accountable on the basis of whether they follow certain laid down processes and procedures or not. But I think the best accountability could be ensured through whether they have been able to produce the output and the outcomes. So move from the procedure-based accountability to outcome-based accountability, and provide the institutions and provide the individual faculty and researcher the freedom to do research on an area of their preference, of their choice. Sometimes linking research to immediate needs of the society and immediate needs of the economy may not be a good idea, though it might appear that it makes researchers more relevant. But then in case of fundamental research, foundational research, you find that quite often the researchers themselves do not know that what will be the practical applications of research unless a long time has elapsed and then somebody realizes that no, the finding of that research could be used in these activities. So funds, faculty, freedom. Prior to national education policy, lately the government itself have been emphasizing on that if we cannot give autonomy to all institutions, we shall give autonomy to some select institution, and therefore the idea of the graded autonomy came in. So like IIM's acts were changed to make them fully autonomous and all the decisions be taken on the board level. Similarly, it was said that those which are A++ graded or A+ graded institution by the National Assessment and Accreditation Council, the national education policy also emphasized at many places about the idea of this university autonomy, and that we think need to be implemented. Once these things are in place, then there are certain other things which facilitate research or academic research. One thing perhaps I did not mention before, that unless a department or unless a unit of the university has critical mass of the faculty, that does not generate interest in research. So every department need to have at least a minimum number of prescribed faculty so that they have a critical mass. Second thing is, like it was emphasized earlier by many policies, and now in this policy, that we cannot find solution to any single problem facing the world or even facing an individual or facing a nation by the knowledge of a single discipline. So this compartmentalization of knowledge is not good for research. New ideas come in when the boundaries between the disciplines are porous, to cite the word that Professor Yashpal used in his report on revival and rejuvenation of higher education. There should be intermingling of disciplines so that in an intermingling of discipline, people get new ideas and they explore further and they create new knowledge and they add value to the existing body of knowledge already been attained. Now the researchers come at the fringe or at the corners of disciplines. So like you are seeing that all those technological advancement in information communication technology, in the medical sciences, in the diagnostics, in the medical implant, etc., you are finding that they are coming due to interdisciplinarity, intermingling of science, engineering, technology, and of course the commerce and businesses would also come into play when it comes to commercialization of these ideas. So focus should be on producing kinds of people with multidisciplinary or interdisciplinary orientation. And that is where the national education policy comes into picture, where it insists that all higher educational institutions need to be multidisciplinary. Now, India is one such country which has largest number of institutions, more than 1,000, close to about 1,100 universities, and more than 51,000 colleges and standalone institutions together. That makes the single largest system found anywhere in the world. But an overwhelming proportion of these institutions are a single discipline college or a single discipline institute. So the policy talks about making colleges and institutes and universities of the large in size, taking them to a minimum of 3,000 to 5,000 enrollment. There should be many disciplines, many departments in a college so that people are able to pick and choose from many disciplines. And then the remaining 2 years or the next 2 years they spent diving deep into a discipline so that they specialize and super specialize in that area. So I think the policy works on this philosophy of enabling students to have a taste of many subjects and then focus on a particular discipline or a particular subjects for completing their education. This will make a holistic individual. This will make an individual which has outlooks that goes beyond a particular discipline. So multidisciplinary becomes very, very critical and important for promoting research. So increasing the number of research scholars and research students is very, very critical and very, very essential. And it is the partnership of the faculty and the research scholars that many new publications come out of the system. So the focus should be on enlarging the base of the research scholars on the campus. While world over, even undergraduate education has become research-based, where students are required in a supervised mode to take up some research, start thinking about research, start doing, if not a very high-cited publication, but some publications. And in case of the postgraduate education, the research component should be increased more. The idea is that most of the people who do their post-graduation and PhD, they are likely to be either in research organization or in the academics. And that is where training them, exposing them to the field of research becomes very, very important. So I think we need to expand postgraduate education, we need to expand PhD level education, and we need to integrate research component certainly in the postgraduate courses, but also to the extent possible at the undergraduate level to create a culture. I think I would like to conclude by saying that there is one point that worries us. You must have all heard. And that point of worry is that despite being the largest system of higher education, how come that there are very few institutions from India which are appearing amongst the top 200 list or top 100 list of the world-class institution or the best-ranked universities? The measurement for categorizing institution as world-class gives a very high component to research. So I think we need to focus on research to enter into the league of the best institutions of the world. Also, at the same time, a question that often worries us, that how come that most people who have got Nobel Prize in literature, in economics, and in sciences from India, barring two exceptions, all of them left India after their first degree or even after their second degree and pursued their further training somewhere else in the world. And by working there in the universities and academic institutions in those countries, that these people got their Nobel Prize or the highest honor which any academics can ever think of. Now the question is that why can't we in India create an ecosystem that if we have people with such a good brain that they could get their Nobel Prize by working abroad, why can't we have that ecosystem that these best brain are able to win Nobel Prize by being in India and by producing research of such a world class that makes an impact and that makes a difference. So Indian minds per se is not bad. There is also no dearth of any talent in India. Indians are willing to work hard, provided we are able to create conditions and facilitate their research aptitude. My whole purpose of this lecture was to involve you in this aspiration that make India world class in terms of the number and outcome and impact of research. One example that you could understand, that in India there are about 18 lakhs teachers teaching in higher educational institutions. If everybody produced even one paper every year, then India's research output would have been about 18 lakhs research paper per year. Our real and actual numbers are far less than what it ought to be. So I think we need to work hard to create this research culture and create that ecosystem where everybody takes pride and everybody wishes to contribute in this research process. With these words, I conclude my lecture and thank you very much for your attention. Thank you.